Good morning, everyone. So we're going to start with a new class today, that is orientation jaw relation. So as we all know that mandible moves in different planes. Actually, the relationships between maxillary and mandibular teeth, that is occlusal relationships, it's very much dynamic. That means we can divide the moments of condyle movements into different planes. That is, they move in sagittal plane, they move in horizontal plane, and then they move in frontal plane. So, in the same way, if a food has to be crushed between the teeth, between the posterior teeth, and when you have to incise the teeth, so all these teeth they move against each other in different planes. So all these movements they are known as border movements. So in between these border movements, this envelope of motion happens as the condyle moves against the articular eminences. So whenever you have to transfer any relationship between maxilla and mandible to the articulator, they have to be all the relations between them, they have to be recorded in these three different planes, that is horizontal plane, sagittal plane, and frontal plane. So according to this, we have three different types of jaw relation records between maxilla and mandible. The first one being orientation jaw relation, the second one being vertical jaw relation, and the third one being horizontal jaw relation. So we're going to talk about the orientation jaw relation today. So what is this orientation jaw relation? This is orientation of mandible to the cranium in such a way that when mandible is kept, that is mandible in, as a whole, in the sense that the condyles when they are braced against articular eminences in anterosuperior position, the mandible it can rotate in sagittal plane around an imaginary transverse axis, passing through or near the condyles. So this relationship of mandible to the cranium, where the movement of mandible happens around the imaginary axis in sagittal plane, that in itself is known as orientation jaw relation. So this jaw relation we transfer from the patient to the articulator. So it helps in orientation of maxillary cast to the opening and closing axis of the articulator. So the same relation has to be carried from patient's face to the articulator. So this is known as orientation jaw relation. So what is this hinge axis, or what is this imaginary axis, which is also known as terminal hinge axis or a transverse axis? So this is a line, imaginary line passing through the heads of the condyles from one condyle to the other condyle. So basically, this axis never exists in a patient, but it's an imaginary axis around which the movement of the mandible happens. That is, the closing and opening movements of the mandible happens around this axis. So this axis, the relation of maxilla to this axis, that in itself is that in itself is has to be carried from the patient to the articulator. So this terminal hinge axis, which is one of the uh, imaginary axis around which the mandible rotates. So this is exactly the guided occlusal relationship occurring at most retrograde position of the condyles in the glenoid fossa. So it is the relationship of occlusal relationships occurring at most retrograde position. So that is why it is known as a terminal hinge position, where or around which these mandibular movements happen. So it's about 12 to 15 degrees near the maximum intercuspation area, and when you come to the interincisal distance, it is around 18 to 25 millimeters. So these are uh, the areas, or these are the measurements around which a pure rotation in the mandible happens at these particular values. Beyond that, the condyle is going to travel uh, along the inclines of the articular eminence, and you're going to see a translatory motion happening. So in that position, uh, there won't be any pure rotation happening. So we have to record the mandible where we are having a pure rotation, and that has to be transferred to the articulator. So how we going to transfer this relationship from the patient to the articulator? So phase bow is one of the instruments which helps in recording this relationship between maxilla and mandible, or maxilla to the opening axis of the, or the terminal hinge position. So this relationship is transferred from the patient face to the articulator with the help of an instrument which is known as a phase bow. So what exactly is this phase bow? A phase bow is a caliper-like instrument used to record the spatial relationship of maxillary arch to some anatomic reference points, and then transfer that relationship to the articulator. So whenever you are transferring any relationship, any spatial relationship from patient's face to the articulator, first they have to be referred. That means first that position has to be made parallel to certain reference points on the patient's face, and then that relation has to be carried from patient's face to be articulated so that it can be oriented in the same way how exactly is in a patient. So what exactly it does? This phase bow, it orients a dental cast in same relationship to the opening axis of the articulator how it is on in the patient. So the anatomic references. So what are these references to which first it has to be referred on the patient's face? So there are two posterior reference point and there is one anterior reference point. By joining these three references, which forms a plane. So those two posterior reference points are nothing but the mandibular condyles, one on each side, and one point in the anterior region, which is known as an anterior reference point. So this phase bow, it can be also called as a hinge bow or ear bow or a kinematic phase bow. So there are different names for this instrument, the phase bow instrument. So which is also called as a hinge bow and ear bow. So how many types of these phase bows are there? So basically they can be classified into two different types, that is arbitrary phase bow and a kinematic phase bow. In arbitrary phase bow, again we have a fascia type, earpiece type, a spring bow, and a slider band. So these are the four different varieties under arbitrary phase bow. So the first one being fascia type, the second one being earpiece type, then the third one being spring bow, and the fourth one is slidermatic. So arbitrary phase bow can be again sub-classified into these four categories, and the other one being a kinematic phase bow. So coming to parts of phase bow. A phase bow has a U-shaped frame, which you can see in the first picture. Then the second one being condylar rods, which goes into external auditory meatus. These condylar rods can be, or you can see over here. This is actually a spring bow type phase bow. Okay, and these white knobs, they are called as condylar rods or condylar knobs over here. So these things, they are placed into the external artery meatus, and a locking device. This is a locking device. Then we have a bite fork to which the occlusal ring can be attached. So the bite fork along with the occlusal ring, they have to be placed into the patient's mouth, and a relation has to be recorded with the help of this framework, which is attached to the bite fork with the help of this locking device. And this, you can see the other picture over here with a pointer. This is known as an orbital pointer. So these two condylar rods, they are placed into external artery meatus, which forms a posterior reference point, and the orbital pointer is placed at the infraorbital notch, which acts as an anterior reference point. So these 2 points, when they are connected with each other, and which are in turn connected with to the orbital pointer or infraorbital notch area, which forms a reference plane where the maxillary cast or maxillary model is oriented to this plane, which is formed in between two posterior reference point and one anterior reference point, and this same relationship will carry from patient face to the articulator. So I hope you remember what are these parts. The first one being U-shaped framework, the second one condylar rods, the third one locking device, and the fourth one bite fork, and the last being the orbital pointer. So these are the parts of a face bow. So coming to U-shaped framework. So this is exactly how it looks, U-shaped framework, and it extends from one region of temporomandibular joint to the other region of temporomandibular joint. Okay, and it is wide enough that it never contacts the sides of the face. The second one being your condylar rods. These are the parts which contact the skin near the temporomandibular joints. So temporomandibular joints, they lie in front of the tragus. Arbitrarily, they lie in front of the tragus of the ear. This is the tragus of the ear. So in front of the tragus, in this area, the condylar heads, we can feel or we can palpate these condylar heads. So the condylar rods are placed into the external orbitary meatus near to the condylar heads. This is a bite fork over here, what you are seeing. So it is being attached, or it itself is being attached to the occlusal rings, so that this bite fork is connected to this locking device over here, which helps in supporting the face bow and the maxillary occlusal ring, and during mounting of maxillary cast or during attachment of maxillary cast to the articulator. So these are the functions of this locking device, what you're going to see here. The fork attaches itself to the face bow by means of this locking device, which supports the face bow, maxillary occlusal ring, and maxillary cast, while the cast being attached to the articulator. And this is a orbital pointer over here. So this is orbital pointer is attached in itself to the U-shaped frame, which forms the anterior reference point so that it forms a plane between two posterior reference point and one anterior reference point, and maxillary cast is oriented to this plane, and that in itself gets transferred when we place a phase bow on top of an articulator to attach the maxillary cast to the articulator. So this is the plane of orientation where that has to be referred, what I was telling you before. This is a spatial plane formed by joining anterior and posterior reference point. So the horizontal plane is established on the face of the patient by one anterior and two posterior points, from which measurements of posterior anatomic determinants, that is occlusal contacts and mandibular motions, are made. So this is the hinge position from where exactly the mandibular movement is going to start. So we have to record that position, and the maxilla has to be oriented to that position, and it has to be referred to the articulator. Unless until we do this, there are going to be some few errors which can occur if this orientation is not done properly. So what are those problems, and uh, uh, what are the problems occurring that we'll see in a later slides.